Like 2 weeks ago. Say, Charles Manson, who's that? Look it up on Google.
Yeah, you don't want to really.
But he's a wicked man.
He was.
But God's mercies could extend to a wicked man because, you know what? To be quite honest, you haven't taken somebody's life in cold blood, but you, prior to Jesus Christ, you and I, we were wrecks. God's mercy through salvation. Next, the Lord is merciful in His, not just salvation, His provisions. In Psalm 78, 72, I'll just read these because we're out of time. So He fed them according to the integrity of His heart and guided them with the skillfulness of His hands. You know, God's been good to me. He's been good to me in times when I have not been so good to Him. And all God's people said, He's never let me down. 41 years I've been saved. I've lived well, I've eaten well, I've paid my bills. When I was laid off, God gave me a job. When I had great needs, He sent somebody by. Number 3, the Lord is merciful in His, number 1, salvation, His provision, but also in His protection. The Bible says in Psalm 4:8, I will both lay me down in peace and sleep, for Thou, Lord, only makest me dwell in safety. I remember when God rescued me from a scuba diving catastrophe. I should have died that day, but I did not die. There were several military training sessions where I should have died, but I did not die that day. And I don't even know the countless other times where I'm, by God's mercy, still here today, Bima. Especially the people that immigrated from Nepal. You know, I've been to your country. It's a tough country. Don't have a lot of luxuries. Don't have a lot of safety things. Like I saw guys loading up trucks by throwing up sand. No forklifts. It's a hard life. It's God's mercy that brought you here. It's God's mercy that will keep you here. It's God's mercy that will keep your families together. Do not fight inside of families. Oh, my soul. I told it, a house divided against itself cannot stand. Love. Remember and rehearse grace. Silly, back in your school, bless what? Yeah, I was going to say Bhutan. I was going to say Bhutan. Barun. Zoe. Did y'all realize they're in a 100% secular school environment? No God! That's tough, man. A lot of pressure on these teenagers. A lot of pressure on them. God forbid a teenager would do this. Take their Bible to their school. Whoa. But Zoe, though you may not carry it out like this, you have to carry it in your life and in your heart. And you got to be able to be a light in a school environment that's filled with not a lot of light. How are you going to do that? You're going to draw upon God's mercies. Draw upon God's grace. His salvation was great. The provisions are great. Not only His provisions, but His protection is amazing. Matthew 23:37. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, thou that killest the prophets, and stonest them which are sent unto thee, how often would I have gathered thy children together, even as a hen gathereth her chickens under her wings, and ye would not. He was urging them, come, get under my wings, but the Jews said, no, you're not the Savior we're looking for. But the Lord is merciful, not only in His salvation, provision, protection, but lastly in His forgiveness. Hebrews 2:17. Wherefore in all things it behooved Him to be made like unto His brethren, that He might be a merciful and faithful high priest in things pertaining to God, to make reconciliation for the sins of the people. 1 John 1:9. If we confess our sins, He is faithful and just to forgive us our sins and cleanse us from all unrighteousness. No matter how terrible that I failed Him, He forgives. No matter how often I fail Him, finish it, He forgives. No matter how many times I fail Him, He forgives. So how come you're mad at your wife? How come you've reached this mental block in your mind about your kids? I'll tell you why. Because you're not cognizant of how much mercy has been bestowed upon you. And I'm done. Let me say this and I'm done. There isn't anything you can come and tell me that I would not forgive you. You know why? Because God forgave me of everything I've ever done. There shouldn't be anybody in this room that's... Now, I'm not saying that when you forgive that person, you're going to be really pleased with them and want to hang out with them. Even a divorce situation or relationships that have ended and there's kids involved and all of that, there ought to be not one bone in your body that is not able to forgive the other person for anything.